Good morning, everybody, and welcome to this new professional meeting with today the meeting of the RISE Commission. The RISE Commission, I've got Bob Teams next to me. He's going to explain to you and to everyone exactly what the RISE Commission is. We have had quite a few meetings. This group of work has been initiated here last year, and we decided to address the issue of recycling, of limiting the impact of the sector on the environment. And so we have put together a group of work, a commission, and we meet regularly. We have met, I think, since last year already 6 times. Huh, Pete? We meet every other month. We meet every other month on Thursday, and we work together on these issues. After 1 year of work, we have started to compile a few results, and Bob is going to present you the state of the game, where we are, what the future looks like, and what we anticipate. Bob, the floor is yours. You have prepared some notes to remind our friends.
Okay, so I'm going to take just a couple of steps back. First of all, just to set the context of what RISE is. So we are the commission to work on the reduction of the impact of the outdoor sector on the environment. Originally, we were looking at it just from a paddle sport perspective, but then we decided to expand that so that as we move forward, it can include other aspects of the outdoor sector. So, who are we? So, at the moment, we're a relatively small representation of people, but it represents users, the end users, retailers, manufacturers, and then the broader community. For example, the European Confederation of Outdoor Employers, hopefully federations from different countries for canoe and kayak federations and so on, so the broader community. And who we are currently... The founder members, you can see on the screen there. I'm not going to go through all of the names, but many people are represented here. If they're not quite here, it's because they're busy doing their business on their stands. But this is just the beginning, and even during the last 2 days, we've managed to add a number of new members to the group. So we've now added Finland, representation from Finland, Poland, Czech Republic, and
one Italian.
An Italian, yes, Italian as well. So yeah. four more countries just yesterday, and I'll come back to that later on. So that's who we are. As Jean-Yves said, we meet every 2 months and are working on this as a broader project. Where did it come from? Well, I didn't quite sit here. In Lyon 2 years ago, I went to Philippe Du and Joel and said, I've got this problem. I've got lots and lots of equipment that I cannot dispose of, and no one has a solution for me. It's just huge. And I asked if I could have the stage to talk to the show and raise this as a concern, because I had a real concern that if we're not taking care of our own sector, then things will be inflicted on us in the future, and we have to be ahead of that and look after ourselves. So I came along and posed this question. That got people thinking, and then that's evolved into what we are now. Sorry. And the big question of why is, it's inevitable. I believe it's inevitable that further down the line, there will be increasing legislation put into place that is about the environment and limiting impact and limiting damage to the environment. And if we sit and wait and do nothing, then we won't have any ability to contribute to that legislation. It will be inflicted on us. Whereas if we get ahead of that and we start looking at ourselves and being responsible and taking steps to have more responsible practices within our sector and to band together as a common voice, then people will have to talk to us before this legislation is imposed on us. So we'll be able to take control of that narrative and be able to contribute so it works with us, not against us as we move forward. But also on the grand scheme of things, I believe that if we are a sport where a pastime where we say, oh, we want to be in nature, we want to kayak down rivers, we want to kayak across the sea and all these amazing, wonderful places we want to go to, we're very hypocritical if we don't start addressing the impact that we have, because a lot of what we do has a damaging impact and a legacy and a lasting impact. So we need to, I believe, be proactive to clean up what we've already begun creating.
There is, I would like, just to confirm, there is clearly two motivations behind what we are doing. There is a purely materialistic motivation of saying we need to protect our businesses for future policies or whatever. But there is also, of course, a humanistic approach that says we can't carry on just like this, throwing away things.
Yeah.
So the two aspects are absolutely combined and inevitable, as you said.
And if I can just say a few more words about that, my original motivation is I have two children. How many other people here have children? Okay. I didn't want to be in a scenario where in 30 years' time they're saying to me, what did you do? Or rather, what didn't you do? And or why didn't you do more? And my answer would be, because that extra 3% on my profit margin was more important than the damage I've left. Or it was just a little bit too hard to make some change. I couldn't stare my daughters in the eyes and give that answer. So I thought, well, I have to start doing something now. And as a single person, you feel you only have one vote. So what can you do to influence your governments or their policies and so on? And then I realized actually, by going to Philippe and Joel and using my leverage to get a platform here, and then starting this story, one little action began to build momentum, and now we've reached this stage where so many more people are involved, and hopefully very soon I can step back because it has so much momentum that it surges forward. So it's this, instead of feeling powerless, is just do something, try to do something, try to make an impact, try to make a change, which is what I believe we're now collectively doing. So we meet, and the initial question was, well, I'm saying there's a problem. We need to work out how big is the problem. Okay, this is the point of inspiration that started this whole thing. This was one outdoor centre that belongs to the company I work for, and this is a field with, I think there's about 40 or 50 boats there. Yeah, one centre. And we tried to dispose of these, and no one would take them from us. Yeah. And so this was the inspiration behind it. So what we've decided to do is we need more information, we need more data. So we've launched a survey, which I'll come back to in a minute. Yeah. And so far with the survey, we've had 153 responses. Okay. And to give a context of it, we've got 34 countries that have participated so far. And to this morning, so I checked the figures about half an hour ago, we've got 544 kayaks that people are saying, these have reached their end of life, they're unusable, and I can't dispose of them. So that's 6 tennis courts, or in terms of the respondents, 3.5 kayaks per respondent. And that's just for 153 responses. So if we then start to multiply that up by all of the participants in paddle sport,
it becomes scary.
It becomes really scary. Yeah. So 173 canoes, 86 SUPs from that 153 responses. It's a huge volume, and that's before we multiply it up. And the other interesting factor is, we ask questions, how many craft do you buy a year? How much are you disposing of, or trying to dispose of? People are buying more than they're actually able to dispose of, so the problem is getting potentially bigger. Although, and this is where we'll come to in a minute, we need to analyze the data in more depth. It could be they're passing them down the chain of second-hand use. So you're buying more, but before it reaches the end of its life, you're passing it on to someone else who gets a second life or a third life or a fourth life out of it. So that could be where some of this data is disappearing. But even if we just take this as an initial representative figure and multiply up by the number of users, it is a vast, vast problem.
Just to comment on this, we are an ongoing process. What we are building with this commission is an ongoing process. We anticipate that it's not a one-year shot. I mean, our meetings are going to last for 4 or 5 years, if not more, because we can't come up with an EU policy or with an EU guideline or with an EU or professional EU standard just like this, saying, hey, I've got 10 boats in my garden, let's make a policy. A, we are not credible, and B, it's not possible. So, of course, the first exercise that the Commission decided to do was to try to take a first picture. We know that we will need to extrapolate, we will need to complete it, and there will be other ways to do it. But it's a first exercise, and there will be more exercises like this. We will come to it in a minute because the Commission has already anticipated and decided a few actions. So, and that's where we want more people to join in to these actions to be able to give it strength and body. Because that's what we will need, is to have a commission. Next year when we come here, we want to be able to line up 15 participants on a regular basis, or 20 participants, so that slowly it builds in a momentum.
So we launched a survey, and I've given you some of the initial data already, but the decision was we wanted a very short, simple survey to gather baseline data. We discussed whether, we had a lot of debate about asking more specific questions, but we felt that to get engagement and to get as maximum chance of responses, highest number of responses possible, we had to be quick and short. So it's a very short, simple survey, but then with an invite within the survey to say, if you want to spend time giving us more depth to your answers, please indicate that, and then we can follow up. So we've invited people to participate in deeper dive interviews, and what's really positive is the first reactions to that. We've got just over 25% of the respondents are willing to participate in more detailed exchange, and that's where we'll be able to really deep dive into the information we've got, the problems, the challenges, and therefore we'll be able to extrapolate much more useful information than just the initial survey. Sorry, there we go. So, early findings, apart from what I've already said, 72% of people said they would be prepared to make a small financial contribution towards the responsible recycling of items at their end of life. Okay. We are becoming increasingly used to that with electrical goods, where you pay an eco-tax or a green tax at the point of purchase, which contributes towards the responsible disposal at the end of life. And close to 3/4 of people say they would be more than happy to do that. Obviously, it's...
And it will be interesting to see when, as we continue the survey going, it will be continuing going, to see if that level of potential support, like 70%, remains. But for the timing, it's a very good indicator.
Yeah, for sure. Obviously, a small financial contribution is a very loose term, so it's hard to quantify. But and then this is the one that really resonated for me, because this is what I found, is that 73% of people who said they were unable to dispose of their craft or their equipment said that the biggest obstacle was either domestic or industrial recycling centres refused to accept the waste. They couldn't take their boats or their paddles or their jackets or their PFDs to what should be a place of recycling. And this was the problem I found. I went to industrial scale plastic recyclers with that field full of canoes. I said, I've got 25 Dag Canadiers. And they said, well, that's no use. We need 5 tons minimum. Until you can bring us 5 tons of plastic, we're not interested. So then you go to your domestic recycling centre and they say, oh no, that's far too big. And you're caught in this place where you're too big for a domestic centre and way too small for an industrial centre. And so my very first sort of getting ahead of what I wanted to do was like, well, we just need to put pressure on organisations and governments to say they have to take it, that there isn't an option. Because at the moment, people can say no, and then what ends up happening? It sits in a field, or it rots behind the club, or, you know. So we've launched the survey, we've got some initial findings. What are we doing next?
On top of these findings, just to complete what you just said, and we had a chat about it earlier on, as we come up with datas, raw datas, we also come up with these sort of figures about general practices, and we also come up with people coming to us and saying, oh, by the way, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. We had this discussion with Damien, we had this discussion with the Federation, we've had the discussion with the Italians, you remember, who have recycled so many boats and they organize outings for the schools. And so there is out there in Europe people with extremely good ideas, and so we are also compiling this sort of, we still don't know how to register them or how to keep record of them, but there will be elements that build a knowledge about the situation and about local initiatives. So we will be talking about it, because we will have, as a commission, we're going to have to think of how we keep record of all this, because otherwise we're going to have huge data.
Yeah. And no, I've gone the wrong way, apologies. Okay, so next steps, continue to promote the survey. We initially said let's just run it for 2 months, but then we decided that was just far too short. So it's going to continue to run all the way through the autumn to gather more data, and the more data we have, the more relevance it has. And
also, as we develop and promote the commission, because there is newcomers, when people come in, they come in with their network. Typically, Benoit from the French Federation arrives, and he said to me yesterday, he said, oh, but we have made a survey, so we have data. So, of course, you know, we will inject this data into the group of data. And I'm sure that tomorrow, when we speak with the German Federation, they will probably have data as well, and so that will be... So, for the time being, the survey keeps going, because we keep finding new contacts, and they keep feeding. So, and hopefully we'll have much more accurate and greater data.
Yeah, and the key thing with that is, without the data, we have there's no evidence-based justification for any of our suggestions or our aims and objectives. So that data is the baseline for us to then build our strategies and our plans from. So continue to promote the survey. Contact people who have offered to give more time to interviews. So during the autumn, we've got a small team of people that are going to be taking follow-up interviews with those that have indicated, and diving in and gathering more relevant information.
So that will be probably 2 or 3 of us. We're going to dedicate maybe 2 or 3 days to just call people who said, I'm interested in discussing. And we spend an hour on the phone with them, or half an hour on the phone, to debate, to discuss anywhere across the EU, to be able to continue finding information, and not just raw data. So we're probably going to dedicate 2 or 3 people for 2 days. So that's going to be 6 days work during this autumn to compile this info.
And then coming back to Jean-Yves' point, we're going to collate and evaluate the current good practices, because those are the inspiration from future solutions. And in the moment we began talking, we discovered so many really positive stories that are going on. That in the audience here just now, Pete from Peak UK has had a number of really positive initiatives over time, as of Palm. Damien and Rotomod Dag, incredible story on recycling, which blew most of us away. Investing in a broyeur, and Damien, the quantity of plastic you're managing to recycle chaque année.
La quantité de plastique que tu recycles chaque année. 150 tonnes, 150 tons.
Yeah, incredible.
Ah ouais,
yeah. So it's critical that people are achieving really positive things, and it's them, people sharing how they're achieving that. And then other people can then copy those approaches or adapt those approaches, and we can have the same level of success. But for us, we need to collate and evaluate that and almost create a catalogue of best practice that's already out there.
Actually, just for your info, if you are new to the commission, next commission will be held in November. Mm-hmm. That's in 2 months' time, on the third Thursday of November at 10 o'clock. And we will most probably use your brains to try to figure out how we can store all these good practice and these stories. Do we create a web page on our website to store these? Do we compile them? Do we create a chart? I don't know. It will be your ideas. We don't have the ideas, you know. But that will be the theme of discussion of the next meeting. What do we do with that? How do we store it for future use? Please, ideas. Thank you.
And then, although I'm covering ground I've already discussed, key fourth point is to extrapolate and analyze the data. And by extrapolate, what we mean is using the participation numbers that we would get, for example, from the FFCK, from Paddle UK, from the different federations, and use that to then multiply up the responses we've had to then create as an accurate a picture as possible of the sheer volume. Because if we only have 153 responses, we're missing the vast majority of users out there. But we can only guess by matching these responses against what we believe are participation numbers across Europe and the world, and then multiply that up. So that's another key part.
The way to extrapolate and analyze, that will probably take a couple of meetings, because we will have to agree amongst ourselves on what technique, what process we use to extrapolate, how far we can go into the extrapolation. So it will require your knowledge, and that will be probably a theme that we will approach, I would think, in the spring, early summer, to start saying, okay, we have had data, we have had examples, we have had interviews on the phone. This is the mass of info that represents so many organization companies. Do we double it? Do we think that we've approached 10% of the... And that's where you start digging, and so, but that's a work. Yeah, probably, I would think in the spring, early summer, we should be in a position to do that job of envisaging an extrapolation, yeah.
And then critically, we need to expand the Commission group to be truly representative of Europe. So, as I was stating earlier, yesterday we managed to find representation from 4 new countries, but we want that representation to be as large as possible. We definitely need to cross the threshold of 12.
Yep.
We need 12 EU member states for us to be able to be recognised by the EU. But what we really want is 27, plus the UK. And other outlying countries that may want to join in as well. So
Norway and Switzerland, no problem.
Yeah. So genuinely, to anybody out there, join Rise. It's not a closed group. You show your interest. We'll invite you along. You know, if you're going to 1 meeting a year, that's not so good. But if you can get to half the meetings a year, 3 meetings a year out of the 6, that's great representation.
Absolutely. There is 2 aspects. There is we need to show our muscles. So yes, we need to have on the paper a certain number of companies, of actors that are taking part in the action, because we need to be able to, as you know, of course, the laws and regulations in Europe, I mean, don't come so much from the member states anymore, or from the countries, because we consider the UK as fully part of Europe. It's not down at national level. Anything we do, whether it's a good practice, recommendations, standards, regulatory moves, whichever level we decide later on to position ourselves, it will only be enforced properly within the sector if we consider it as an EU, as a European, geographically European action. And in order to do that, the policy makers, the member states, the key players, before you represent a third of Europe, they don't even look at you. They don't listen to you. When we created ECHO 15 years ago, we put 7 countries together. We turned up at the EU Commission and they say, bravo, guys, 7, super. Right, what are we going to do? Come back when you are 12. Okay, thank you, guys. So we worked for 3 years. We gathered more members. And when we were 12 or 14, we went back to the Commission and they said, welcome, take a seat. Why don't we talk? You are the experts in Europe. Let's talk. And that's how you start. If you turn up with 2 guys and a few... No. If we turn up with a survey, with the beginning of a policy, with 12, 14, 15 member states, 20 participants that are registered, we know that not everybody comes every meeting, but that's not the issue. The issue is that the wheel turns and that the job is progressing as is ongoing. We all have our daily things. We have a meeting, and on the third Thursday, maybe we are in a meeting and we can't. That's fine. That's fine. The wheel is turning, and as you can see from last year, there is already now 15, 20 of us, and next year we will be 25 sitting here. And 10 of them or 15 of them will have participated to every meeting or 1 out of 2 meetings, and the policy will continue to build. And that's what we need to do. We need a certain level to be able to exist.
And then with all of those first 5 steps in place, then we can begin to define our objectives and to introduce projects that will be acceptable within the EU framework. And I think for me, it's really important to state that this isn't about inflicting things on ourselves that make it harder for us to operate. It's about getting ahead of things that would make it very hard for us to continue if further down the line legislation's introduced. And I think it's really simple to look at what's happened in so many different aspects of life and say, it is coming. You know, we can't imagine exactly what it is, but if we go back 20 years, we wouldn't have expected to be unable to drive in the middle of major capital cities across Europe, but now you can't without paying a huge fee or whatever. And more legislation on transportation and so on and so on. So it's inevitable that things will be introduced. But if we're in front of it as the representative voice of our sector, then we get to control that and be negotiated with, so we can say this is what will work for us, rather than it being inflicted and having no way of controlling that legislation.
The system in Europe, like in many countries, is clearly policymakers have realized that he who can make a policy is he who has got access to the data. This is how the Elon Musks of these worlds and the poll in the UK, you remember this thing about the voting, the guys who had the control and if you have the data, you have the policy, or you have the ear of the policymaker. And at the end of the day, we want to be, of course, perceived as a sector with data so that we can say, we know, so don't tell us. Oh, okay, sir. So, you know, we are the experts. And the whole Commission, the EU Commission, is operating on an expert-based system. They want to do something, they ask the experts. So all they say is, who is the expert? You raise your hand and they say, no, guys, come on, there's 3 of you, you are not the experts. Or there is 20 of you over there, you are the experts. Thank you very much. And you've got the data, come in, let's talk. So we want to be clearly in that position. Effectively, the EU project are not necessarily on an Erasmus program because the link with education, but is very limited, but maybe we can address it. But there are other programs like Horizon or whatever. And the idea behind this is that at some stage, if we want to spread over the EU, we will have two issues. The first one is continue to collate data and info and disseminate. If we don't have relays and contacts in the 26 member states, it's complicated because we don't have the joy about an EU project. Normally the things you apply in February, so it's impossible for this year. So we could be in 27. Is to build a project where we all become the partners of this project, and we ask the Commission for funding to organize roundtables, visits, and we select some countries where we haven't, for the time being, we haven't got any Spanish people with us, no Estonian, no Bulgarians. We need them. We want them. We want to have their opinion on the issue. And so the idea could be to create an EU project where we get funding to organize meetings there. We organize a one-day visit, so there is 2 or 3 of us go to Estonia. We have a contact there. He organizes a meeting. He rents a room in a hotel. He invites 15 people from the trade. We go and meet. We pass on the good news. We collect information, and then when it's time to disseminate, we did that, you remember, with a Dial project, the social dialogue. And it worked really well. We dedicate a month, we build a few teams, and 3 of you go to Spain, and 3 of you go so. And the Commission pays for the flights, for the rental of the hotel, for the taxi, for everything. And because, you know, we ask you to work, we can't on top ask you to pay for it. So the joy of a project like this is that it gives body. It gives also a first contact with the EU Commission, because when they finance you, obviously, when you come up with results and you deliver what you have said you would, you start looking smart, because there's, the RISE Commission, yeah, we know, yeah, okay, yeah, it's... So that's the idea behind it, but that's not for just now, but we will talk about this in the coming, probably this summer, in the meetings during the summer.
So, the pragmatic side is what can you do now? What can you do to contribute to help? So, if you haven't already, complete the survey. The more information we have, the more data we have, the more power and influence we can have. So complete the survey, but share and encourage as many other people to complete it as well. Use your own networks to disseminate the QR code, simple code, which is on the back wall here. It's on the side of the living statue over there. And if you're willing, participate in these follow-up interviews, which will give us the depth and the qualitative feedback. If you haven't already, then represent your nation by joining the RISE Commission group and expanding that representation. Oop. Let's just take that back. So those, I'll leave those on the screen for a moment. Those are the 4 things that we need people to do now. Okay, and many of you, hey. We were talking before you arrived about expanding and how you're going to represent Czech interests. Yeah. No, it's fine.
That's
I came
fine.
down. I saw you filming, and it's like that's your primary reason for being here. So yeah. So expanding the group out. So. We've talked enough. We've tried to give you a picture of where we came from, what we're currently doing, where we want to go. There's no clearly defined, this is what we're going to achieve, because we can't do that yet. We're
building up. It's the Commission that builds up.
Yeah, we're gathering information, and all of you that are involved, we need to talk together to decide what's most important for us next and where we go next. And I've always said my involvement was just to be the ignition, the touch paper to start the process, because I'm not a manufacturer. I don't make things. I'm a user of your products, but I was a frustrated user who couldn't solve my product end of life problems. And so for me, I just want to see this move forward, and ultimately I become a redundant part of the process, and you carry on. So,
no, Bob, you will never be redundant. Never.
So that's where we're at, and I think I've talked already about legacy children. If you've got children and you want to ensure that the incredible world that we've all been able to participate in paddle sport in stays in the same condition as it is now, but for your children or your children's children, then we have to do things now. And you can feel powerless, but I feel really proud personally that what I did was, by taking the first step, talking to Philippe and Joel, and basically it was like I was throwing a stone in a pond and making a very small ripple. But now that ripple's built momentum. And if we get more people throwing stones all at the same time, it's not a ripple, it becomes a huge wave. And that wave is what moves things forward. That's where our power is. We can make that power, harness that power, and be in control and have a real influence on the future. Okay? And for me, that's the reason why. That's the reason why, and that's the reason to try. So thank you for your time. You'll find me being a statue over there for one more time before the end of today. And if anybody wants to contribute, take part, then obviously come talk to me. And many of the members stick your hands up if you're a member, an established member, or a new member of RISE, including new members. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Great. Cool. So. These are the people to talk to. We're all equals. It's not me in charge. It's not you provide a framework to make it work, which has been incredible. But we're all on equal level. There's no hierarchy or pecking order. So, thank you very much. Unless there are questions.
If there is question, but after this meeting, I've already had a chat with Benoît. On a déjà discuté ce matin, mais on va rediscuter. You arrived in the middle of the, so if you want to have a little discussion on details of how it operates, so that we can have a chat, so that you feel comfortable. If there is info that you missed, that we said at the beginning of the meeting, we're probably going to try to see the Finns and the Polish.
Yep.
To get the details. I got Benoît's details this morning. So Hélène is looking after the secretariat of the commission on behalf of ECHO. So I'm going to forward that to Hélène, so that immediately for the meeting in November you receive the email that calls you into the meeting. So I'll probably do the same thing with you for Czech Republic. And we will be doing the same with the Finns and the Polish, so that next meeting there is more of us and more participants. We are definitely looking for participants from Portugal and Spain. If you have contacts in Portugal or Spain, we would like to do so. We need to see DKS if they are here. Are they still here? Because we need some German contacts, definitely. We also need Slovenian contact, where water activities is quite big. And then there is other Eastern countries, and if you have contacts. We are represented, the representation of such countries as the UK, France, Switzerland, Greece, Italy, Czech Republic now, etc., is quite well done. If we look for partners, Portugal and Spain is a good place to look.
Yep.
Germany and more Eastern countries, definitely. So if you have contacts of people who think, yeah, I need to do something for the trade, they can come in with pleasure.
Yeah. Any questions?
Any questions?
Yeah. Great.
You have?
No. Ah. Cool. Right. Well, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
No.
We see you. Yep. Yep.
It's actually not a question. I just wanted to add, at this stage, the Commission is a loose group and there's no membership as such and no cost involved and no obligation. So it's very easy to come, join us, see if you want to stick at it, and if you don't, leave again. So, you don't have to pay, sign up your life or anything else.
Very good.
And just to add, the other thing is that it doesn't have to be a consistent person. If you're representative of your company, then you could be, the person can change. You can have a different person coming to the meetings if you can't be consistent. That's not a problem at all. What we just want these people to join.
I would go even further than that. You probably in the UK, for instance, we've already got 2 or 3 members for the Commission, which is great. It would be, you can imagine, a bit not complicated, but we can't have 10 French companies or 20. But on the other hand, you can act as an ambassador and talk with other companies to say, if you've got ideas, or if you've got data, or if you've got anything, please feed me so I can bring. So we could envisage that the members are organizing informal conversation and meetings with their peers nationally, so that the info that comes up is not just my opinion as a French person, but it comes from a discussion with quite a few French people. And oh, we had this guy in the Dordogne, and he had the idea that maybe we could blah blah blah. I was talking yesterday to the president of a big rental organization. So he's got 50 or 100 members who rent canoes across France. I want to know his opinion. I want him to disseminate the survey, for sure. And I want him to say, this is how we see life. And so, yes, we can, and we gather this for the Commission. Yeah.
Right, I think the last thing we should do is everybody's involved come up here. Let's get a photo in front of this.
Absolutely.
Because that's a really good promotional opportunity. So everybody that's involved, or even if you're not involved yet, but you want to be involved, let's get on here and someone can take a picture. That'd be awesome.
Jota, you took photos?
I'm going to have a cheers. I'm going to go down here because I'm a short guy. Come on, Paul.
How are you doing, Graham?
Okay.
Very good. It's good, another one?
No, this is serious. That's why. That's how we look. Thank you. Great. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you. Well done, guys. It's coming up together.
Yeah. Thank you.